All right, good evening, everyone. As Dr. Roberts mentioned tonight, we'd like to review a few options that we've developed for the attendance zones for Deep Creek, Great Bridge, Greenbrier, Hugo, Owens, and Hickory middle schools. The options you'll see tonight are limited to those schools at the middle school level. This is not an elementary school or high school study. Some background information. As you know, ongoing overcrowding and continuing residential development at Hickory Middle School necessitate an attendance zone study. As part of the CIP, you'll recall, staff recommended an attendance zone study to relieve overcrowding at Hickory Middle School. Areas currently considered, as I said, Deep Creek, Great Bridge, Greenbrier, Hickory, Hugo, Owens Middle Schools. As you may recall, the 2017 to 27 school board's proposed CIP includes a proposed addition to Hickory Middle School, currently scheduled to open in 2019-2020, pending City Council appropriation. The addition will increase the capacity from 1,300 to approximately 1,500 students, but will not completely eliminate overcrowding or the need for portable classrooms at the school. It's important to note Hickory Middle School, the design, the core facilities, gym, cafeteria, etc., was designed to accommodate approximately 1,500 students. Now, when we look at attendance zones, moving neighborhoods and areas from one school to another, these are some of the considerations and criteria we look at. We determine if adequate existing and projected capacity exists to relieve overcrowding. We consider the effect of ongoing and planned and approved residential development. We consider the proximity of students to schools, trying to keep students not too far from their schools they're attending. We determine the demographic effect of shifting populations. We consider the effect of creating split feeders, and by that I mean creating a situation where we have an elementary school that may split to 1 or 2 or 3 middle schools. We try to avoid that. We consider the stability of attendance zones over time, and we need to make sure we're accommodating the required educational programs with the appropriate facility requirements. This map here is just showing you the current attendance zones. From left to right, you see Hugo Owens Middle, Great Bridge in the center, Hickory Middle to the south in purple, Greenbrier on the upper right-hand corner, also Deep Creek Middle on the top left. This chart, you've seen this before at the previous meetings. It's showing you the current capacity, enrollment, and demographics for each of the schools in the study area. I won't read all these numbers to you, but you can see it has the official October 1st enrollment, the building capacity for each school, the percent of capacity for each school, the enrollment minus capacity, the percent minority for each school, and the number of portable classrooms at each school. Two important things I want to point out on here. Greenbrier Middle School, you see the asterisk there, the building capacity of 1,400. Currently, we have some CPS staff housed at Greenbrier Middle School. That number you're seeing there is really contingent upon the relocation of the support staff at Greenbrier Middle School. Capacity would increase from the current 1,250 up to 1,400. At Hickory Middle School, you see a double asterisk. That asterisk is indicating the small building addition that we have planned there that I discussed. If funds are approved by council, the addition would increase capacity from 1,300 to approximately 1,500 students. One of the criteria, as I mentioned, that we look at when we're developing attendance zones is we look at the number of approved preliminary home sites we have in each school. These are home sites that have gone either through the subdivision process or site plan rezoning process. And you can see the highest number of homes currently approved is in the Hickory Middle School zone, about 1,100. Hugo Owens, about 850. And Greenbrier Middle School, about 530. Doesn't mean all these home sites are going to be built in the next year or even 2 or 3 years, but it shows you the potential for development in each of these zones.
Okay, John, excuse me, Mr. Mercer.
Just a second. On the Hickory Middle, the 1,103, does that include the Dragus property and the property around the Dragus property?
It approves what has gone through the through the rezoning process. I'm not sure which exact Dragus property is being.
Mr. Mercer, it does. We looked at that the other day. It does include all of the homes from the Dragus property.
Okay, just wanted to make
out
sure.
In Edinburgh.
Okay, thank you.
So taking a look at each of the three attendance zone options, attendance zone A is limited to 2 middle schools, Hickory and Greenbrier. It would reassign a portion of Hickory Middle School to Greenbrier Middle School. Specifically, as you can see here, and we'll take a look at the maps in a moment, it would reassign the portion of the attendance zone currently in Hickory from the canal southward to include Frenchurch Road, west to Cooper's Ditch, and extending east to the Ravenna East Stratford Terrace neighborhoods, and also would include the 600 to 1649 block of addresses fronting Mount Pleasant Road. You can see that area on the right side of this map, and we'll zoom into it. So this is the area we're talking about, south of the canal, north of Fentress, bisected by Centerville Turnpike and Mount Pleasant Road. You see some of the subdivision names here. This may not be a complete list in any of these maps that you're looking at, but these are really the major subdivision names we could come up with that we found. But really, it's this piece of geography that we're talking about to move northward. Taking a look at the effect that would have on enrollment, you can see Greenbrier Middle School. Again, they're at 924, or 66% of capacity. They would increase to 1251 and be close to 90% of capacity. Hickory Middle School at 1618 enrollment, or 124.5% of capacity, would decrease to 1291 and be right at capacity, about 99.3%. The one thing I want to point out is that you probably can't read the double asterisk at the bottom. If the addition were built at Hickory Middle School, that 99.3% would really be closer to 86% if we put the addition on. In this option, Deep Creek Middle, Great Bridge Middle, Hugo Owens are not affected. Now for each of the attendance zone options, we tried to give a summary list of pros and cons. This isn't a complete list, but it shows you some of the pros and cons of each option. And I'll just highlight a few of these. Some pros for attendance option A. It would reduce overcrowding at Hickory Middle School, but not to the extent of option C that we'll talk about in a moment. It utilizes the existing capacity we have at Greenbrier Middle. Should remain stable over time, giving enough room in both schools for growth. And as I said, it does limit the number of students and schools affected to 2 middle schools. A couple of the cons, it does create an additional split feeder for the Butts Road primary and intermediate schools. They would feed to Greenbrier Middle in this option. And really the case for all of these, anytime we're changing attendance zones, it has the potential to create less efficient use of our school bus transportation and will likely require additional buses and drivers. Looking at attendance zone option.
We have a question from the board. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the Greenbrier Middle numbers you have for approved preliminary home sites, that, and I'm asking you and Ms. Stutz at the same time, that's approved plans, but how many home sites, are out in that Elbow Road, Centerville Turnpike, which are already, would be destined for Greenbrier Middle? I know we have 532 approved, but how many home sites are out there?
These are the home sites that are actually approved on the books right now that have been rezoned or site plan subdivision.
How many acres are still out there which were designated for residential development, although the plans haven't been approved yet?
I don't have that with me, but we can try to find that
Yeah,
out.
I think that would be interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
The city used to maintain that number. I don't know if they still do. The one big one you're probably thinking of, Mr. Murphy, is Transamerica or Tri-City Properties, and none of that would be included in there except which is already the few areas that they have that have already been built out.
I know when we were looking at other sites, this is years and years ago, we'd always talked about how many home sites which are now starting the development phase out in that area. And if you could find out any of that stuff on our next meeting, that'd be great.
We'll see what we can find out.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So looking at attendance option B, this would reassign portions of Hickory Middle School to Hugo Owens Middle School and to Great Bridge Middle School, and also reassign a portion of Great Bridge to Greenbrier. One of the things we heard, some of the suggestions we heard, was we have some areas of Hickory, the northern part, kind of right near Great Bridge Middle, and could we take a look at reassigning them to Great Bridge? So we've tried to do this in this option. So from Hickory Middle School to Hugo, it reassigned a portion of the attendance zone directly south of Dominion Boulevard to Herring Ditch Road and eastward to Shillelagh Road. From Hickory to Great Bridge would reassign the Berkshire Forest and Viridian Reserve at Hickory subdivisions. And then from Great Bridge to Greenbrier, in order to create space at Great Bridge, would reassign the portion of the attendance zone east of the Chesapeake Expressway, south of the canal, west of Cooper's Ditch, to include Bridgefield and Great Bridge Gardens. And that's the general area moving from Hickory to Hugo, Hickory to Great Bridge to Greenbrier. Zooming in on those locations, you can see on the left side, this is the Dominion Boulevard corridor area, moving to Hugo, and the Great Bridge area in the center, and Bridgefield Gardens, Great Bridge Gardens on the right side. Taking a look at the effect of that on actual enrollment, Great Bridge Middle School, currently at 1379 or 108% of capacity, would increase slightly to 1408 and be at about 110. Since we are moving some students in, we are moving some students out, but it's not a wash, so there is a slight increase there. Greenbrier Middle School at 66% of the capacity currently would go to 964 and be about 68.9%, so we'd have a lot of excess capacity still available there. Hickory Middle School at 1618, 124.5% of capacity, would decrease to 1495 and still be over at about 115% of capacity. Now with the addition, as you see in the bottom, they'd be closer to about 99.7, so they'd be right at capacity if the addition were built.
Okay, we have a question for board member, Sir.
Over here,
Sir.
Going back to the Great Bridge Middle, you said it's a little bit, it's not a wash. I'm just interested in the Bridgefield and Great Bridge Gardens, because that's basically what we're talking about is Great Bridge
Correct.
Gardens and Bridgefield going to Greenbrier. What are the numbers there, the estimated student population?
There's about 40 students in there right now.
About 40 students,
Mhm.
so we'd only have 40 students that would go to Greenbrier Middle.
Correct.
With this plan.
Correct.
Okay. So what would it do with capacity? It would bring it up to 14, I can't see.
1408.
It would bring it up to 1448, wouldn't it?
No, that is the proposed enrollment on there, 1408.
Yeah,
that
but
includes,
if you didn't take those students to Greenbrier, it would only
Correct.
raise the capacity to 1448.
correct.
So that would probably be 111%, right?
Yeah, maybe
112?
a little more. Yeah,
112,
Yeah.
okay, among friends? Okay, just wanted to know. Thank you.
sure. Okay, taking a look at some pros and cons again. It does reassign areas from Hickory Middle School to Great Bridge Middle School that are in closer proximity to Great Bridge. And it would reduce transportation time for the areas south of Dominion Boulevard if those students were traveling to Hugo Owens. In all of these, it does provide ethnic diversity to the extent possible, and we did try to adhere to geographic features, major roads, canals. Some cons, I won't read all these to you, but it does eliminate overcrowding. It does not eliminate overcrowding at Hickory Middle School, as I discussed. We would likely be required to come back and do future zone adjustments here in the near future for both Hickory Middle School, since we were leaving it overcrowded, and Hugo Owens Middle School would not have a lot of capacity to handle the growth that's coming there. It also doesn't use the existing classroom space we have at Greenbrier Middle School. As I mentioned, one of the cons would be moving existing Great Bridge Middle School students out to accommodate other students from Hickory. And also, it does create an issue with bus transportation and likely requiring additional bus drivers. And it would affect 4 middle schools as opposed to the other one affecting 2. Looking at attendance zone option C, this is kind of a blend of A and B portions of it. Would reassign portions of Hickory Middle School to Greenbrier Middle School and to Hugo Owens Middle School. In this option, however, we would also reassign a portion of Hugo Owens to Deep Creek, and that's really to help out Hugo in the future and use some of the available capacity we have at Deep Creek Middle. This first area is the area in option A that would move from Hickory Middle School to Greenbrier. I'll show you on the map in a moment. This is the area moving from Hickory Middle School to Hugo Owens Middle School that we saw in option B south of Dominion. And the new section in this is the area from Hugo to Deep Creek. It would reassign a portion of the attendance zone on the northeast side of Moses Grandy Trail, northwest of Dominion Boulevard, west of the southern branch of the Elizabeth River, and south of the Deep Creek. These are the areas we're talking about. That's the Deep Creek area. Again, the area from Hickory to Hugo. and as shown in option A, the Hickory area to Greenbrier. Zooming in, you can see some of the subdivision names. The one on the upper left, you can see it's north of Moses Grandy Trail. The area along Dominion from Hickory to Hugo, and again, that area south of the canal from Hickory to Greenbrier. Looking at the effect on enrollment of this option, Deep Creek Middle, you can see enrollment at 475. They're at 61.3% of capacity. Their enrollment would increase to 694 and be about 89.5% of capacity. So we're using the capacity we'd have there. Greenbrier Middle School at 66% of capacity would increase to about 89.4% of capacity. Hickory Middle School from 124.5% of capacity, decreasing to 95.2. And you can see the asterisk at the bottom with the addition again, building the capacity at 1,500. That would put them at about 82.5% of capacity, so they'd have some room for growth there. And Hugo Owens Middle School in this scenario, at 89.4% of capacity, would decrease to 76.7% of capacity, again leaving space for future enrollment growth. Some of the pros, it does provide the greatest overcrowding relief to Hickory Middle School. We're utilizing the existing space we have at both Deep Creek Middle and Greenbrier Middle. Provides for capacity growth at Hugo Owens for the future and should remain stable over time. Does create these 3 additional split feeders, Butts Road, Grassfield, and Deep Creek Central. We have the issue again with bus transportation and likely requiring additional routes and drivers. And in this scenario, we are affecting 4 middle schools. Now, we also explored some other alternatives that are not currently under consideration. Some of these we were requested to look at. Some of these we looked at as we were developing the others. Just to give you an idea, staff explored the possibility of shifting a portion of Western Branch Jolliffe to Deep Creek. However, we really believe that capacity we have at Deep Creek is better positioned to relieve future growth we believe is coming at Hugo Owens Middle School. Staff also reviewed the possibility of reassigning newly approved new residential developments that are not yet built, situated in an overcrowded school zone, to an alternative school that has capacity. This is possible, but in limited cases, when the new development is adjacent to a boundary line and to a school with available capacity. In many cases, newly approved developments are located in the middle of an attendance zone. Currently, we don't have any newly approved developments that are located near middle school attendance zone lines. And when we do things like this, we have to be careful about creating additional problems in the future when we spot zone developments. It can create issues where we are busing an area in the middle of an attendance zone back out to another one. And it can also potentially create additional, sometimes very small split feeders. So it's something we can look at in the future, but we just need to be cautious about doing it. Staff also explored the possibility of rezoning additional areas to Great Bridge Middle School, including the Hanbury Road, Hillwell Road area. However, we really don't have sufficient space available in Great Bridge Middle School to accommodate additional students without moving existing students out. Staff also explored rezoning additional areas of Great Bridge Middle School to Hugo. However, doing so would keep the current and future development along that Dominion Boulevard corridor in Hugo and Hickory. Hugo has very limited capacity, and Hugo does not have capacity for additional students at this point. Next steps, as we've discussed, the attendance zone options we're presenting tonight are for the board's consideration. Upon board review and comment, staff may be requested to continue with the attendance zone study and or provide additional information. It's important to note a proposed calendar for public hearings, community meetings, and an implementation plan have not been determined at this time. Additional information the board requests or any other information, including implementation plan and community meetings, would be provided at a future board meeting and posted on our Chesapeake Public Schools website. And both the book that was available in the back, it's probably gone by now, and the presentation I'm doing tonight will be posted on our website in the morning.